Well, hello and welcome back to our daily devotional. My name's Mark Buchanan from Eden.co.uk. Today I want to talk about the shortest verse in the Bible, but we need to put it in some context. So the story that we're going to look at all comes in John chapter 11. I'm going to read verses 32 to 44, but just to give a bit of backstory and context, Jesus is traveling with his ministry. He's just come back from Judea, where his life had been threatened because of people being so angry at what he was preaching. And then word comes that his friend Lazarus has died. The sisters of Lazarus, Mary and Martha, were also very close to Jesus. So he says he's going to turn round and go back and visit them. The disciples think he's crazy for doing that, saying, "We were threatened. We nearly died." And then Thomas says, well, we may as well go back and die with him. So there's a certain fatalism amongst the disciples thinking this is not going to end well. But Jesus is determined to go and comfort his friends. So we pick up in verse 32. He's already met Martha, and she said to him, "But if you'd been here, Lazarus wouldn't have died." And then Jesus stays where he is, and Martha goes back into the village of Bethany, and Mary comes out to find Jesus. So verse 32, when Mary reached the place where Jesus was and saw him, she fell at his feet and said, "Lord, if you'd been here, my brother would not have died." When Jesus saw her weeping, and the Jews who'd come along with her also weeping, he was deeply moved in spirit and troubled. "Where have you laid him?" he asked. "Come and see, Lord," they replied. And Jesus wept. Then the Jews said, "See how he loved him." But some of them said, "Could not he who opened the eyes of the blind man have kept this man from dying?" Jesus, once more deeply moved, came to the tomb. It was a cave with a stone laid across the entrance. "Take away the stone," he said. "But Lord," said Martha, the sister of the dead man, "by this time there's a bad odour, for he's been there for 4 days." Then Jesus said, "Did I not tell you that if you believe, you will see the glory of God?" So they took away the stone. Then Jesus looked up and said, "Father, I thank you that you have heard me. I knew that you always hear me, but I said this for the benefit of the people standing here, that they may believe that you sent me." When he'd said this, Jesus called out in a loud voice, "Lazarus, come out." The dead man came out, his hands and feet wrapped with strips of linen and a cloth around his face. Jesus said to them, "Take off the grave clothes and let him go." So there's great sadness and sorrow and weeping, and all the Jewish mourning customs are being fulfilled. That's why there's so many other people there. And Jesus asks, "Where have you laid him?" And they invite Jesus to come and see the tomb. And at that point, Jesus wept, verse 35. And this is the bit that I find so interesting, because Jesus, I'm fairly sure, knew that he was going to raise Lazarus from the dead. So from Jesus' point of view, there is no need for all this mourning. There is no need for all this weeping. But yet, at the same time, he can understand it from Mary and Martha's point of view, that from their point of view, their brother is dead and is not coming back. And that's the incredible empathy of Jesus that we're seeing there. Even though he knew their mourning was going to come to an end very quickly and be replaced by joy, he could still identify with their own weeping and their sadness and their brokenness. And reading this during this coronavirus time, that gives me incredible comfort. On the one hand, the Lord is in control. The Lord is not threatened by what's happening down here, nor is he fazed by it, nor is he unable to help us in the middle of our grief and the trials that we're going through. But at the very same time, he understands absolutely and completely just how difficult this is for us, how much it's hurting us, how worried and afraid some of us might be, and he has incredible empathy for that. He doesn't condemn it or criticize it or shake his finger at it. He just understands. And without any words, the tears of Jesus communicated that so powerfully to Mary and Martha. And the fact that he chose to let that happen before doing one of the greatest miracles in the entire New Testament says a lot, doesn't it? That first of all, he's making sure that Mary and Martha feel understood, feel comforted, feel supported, feel his friendship. It's the humanity of Jesus, isn't it? And I love that about him. And then in that context, he raises Lazarus from the dead. And what incredible rejoicing there must have been at that point. But Jesus didn't just want to do a miracle to bring attention and glory to his Father, although that was a big part of it. He also wanted the people around him to understand just how much he and the Father cared for them and loved them.